Before I start the customary duty of giving the room a comfortable few minutes, I would just like to say a few words of thanks. Firstly, on Desmond and Alison's behalf, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. It's been a real joy to see so many people here and so many of Desmond and Alison's friends and family together for the first time. And it's been great to meet so many people we've been hearing about for so long over the years. And I know how delighted they both are that so many of you could come and from so long, so many people travel for so long. And of course I'd like to thank Mika, Alison's maid of honour, and the bridesmaid Caitlin and Emily for doing such a wonderful job today. And don't they all look amazing? I think they're only eclipsed by Alison herself, who looks absolutely stunning. Desmond just looks stunned. No, that's not true. Desmond has actually been his very laid-back self today. I think the only time he showed a bit of nerves was when I just stood up. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Richard, Desmond's younger brother. A few people have been saying, am I the oldest? No. And some say there's a slight resemblance between the two of us. Well, I didn't see that until my sister Sarah's wedding in Rome a few years ago, when people kept on coming up to me at the party the night before and saying, did I enjoy myself last night, and how did I feel this morning? I said, well, I stayed at home, read a book at home. Then I realised that, of course, they were getting us mixed up. It does sound like it missed a good evening. Well, it must be something about weddings, because the same thing started happening last night, and today it happened again today. Somebody came up to me earlier and said, in fact last night, and said, was I nervous, was I worried about my big day? And I think I probably added to the confusion when I said, no, it's fine, it's not like I'm getting married or anything. But it can be a bit awkward and when people get you confused. I mean, how long do you leave it before you tell somebody that you're speaking to the wrong person? It's a bit like when Desmond was a teenager. Our father's a doctor who was on call quite often, and patients would call up late at night or during the weekends, and sometimes Desmond would answer the phone, and when the patient heard an English voice, male voice, they thought he was speaking to the doctor, then often would launch straight into detailed description of their ailment. Now, how long do you leave it before telling somebody that the doctor's not at home and could you take a message? And I'm sure it's absolutely not true, Desmond, that you actually once told somebody to take 2 aspirins and call back in the morning. I'm not sure if help matters today by the way we've dressed, but anyway. If anyone who does not see us very often gets confused, there's one way of telling the difference between Desmond and myself, and that is, you ask him about a classic car, and if he says, is that the 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder model, and how much do you want for it? That would be Desmond. When Desmond asked me to be best man, I was a bit unsure of the different wedding customs between the UK and US, and I heard many cautionary tales about things I shouldn't do to cause offence. One of the things I was asked to do, advised to do, is not to mention Desmond's past girlfriends. Well, he is the man of the day, so I will be advised by that and not mention any past girlfriends, but that does cut my speech by about 3 seconds. I was told that as best man I just had to do 3 things today. Get Desmond here, 1, on time, 2, sober, 3, looking good. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So Desmond and Alison have finally tied the knot. And today has been a long time in the coming. Some of us were beginning to wonder whether Desmond would reach his half-century as a bachelor. Alison and Desmond, I believe, met around 15 years ago when they both started working together. but they didn't start dating for some years after that. I knew Desmond was smitten though when I'd heard he'd been to Tiffany's in New York to buy some jewellery. But then when I really knew it was serious is when Desmond and Alison came to our Uncle Patrick's wedding, birthday party in Greece. And hats off to you, Alison, a very brave woman coming to meet the Mass Longfords at once. And Desmond has been asking, I'm sure, pursuing Alison's hand, I think, ever since. And it's great over that time that they've managed to get to know each other very well, and they know each other's predilections and foibles. Alison, for example, knows that that she's marrying a man who bought a garage that holds 7 cars and a house that went along with it. And Alison also knows that Desmond's a very practical man who is very handy around the house. He's very, very good at taking things apart, including cars. He may be good at putting them back together, but nobody's ever found out. It's convention, apparently, for the best man to give some words of wisdom to the groom. But you're my older brother, Desmond, I'm not sure I can give you much wisdom. And anyway, all wisdom now comes from the internet, so I've looked up a few words of wisdom for you. One of the top tips is, never go to bed on an argument, always stay up and argue. I think that's duff advice. It's not good advice, because in my experience, chance will be a fine thing. If you have an argument, you're sleeping on the sofa. And there's one tip I can endorse from personal experience, and that is the best way to remember your anniversary is to forget it once. Desmond, May the 25th, put it in your iPad and your BlackBerry today. Another popular tip is that 3 little words will go a long way in a marriage, and they are, "You're right, darling." I think I may have heard that once or twice already in the last day or two, Desmond. Probably better advice is, whenever you're wrong, Desmond, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Perhaps related to those men who forget these tips is a final and probably dubious internet fact, which is statistically you're most likely to be murdered by your spouse. I'm getting the anti-internet signal, so it's time to wind up. As I said earlier, today's been a long time coming, and I'm absolutely thrilled for Alison and Desmond. Desmond, today you have gained a wife that is beautiful, smart, funny, warm, caring, and a lot of fun. You're a very lucky man. Alison deserves a good husband. And I'm really lucky that she married you before she found one. In all seriousness, you're both very independent people, but together you make a great couple. And I know you'll be very happy together. And I can speak on behalf of all my family, we're very happy that today has happened at last. Alison, I know your family has welcomed Desmond warmly, and I hope that you'll feel equally welcome with the Longfords. We are very much looking forward to seeing more of you in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please be upstanding for the bride and groom? To love, to happiness, to Desmond and Alison, to Mr. and Mrs. Longford.